everybody, welcome to What to Watch with Your Popcorn. I'm Rob.
And I'm Dave.
And today we will be reviewing The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus from director Terry Gilliam. It stars Christopher Plummer as a man who has an Imaginarium, a traveling sideshow, where people are allowed to go through a mirror and go into his imagination. And the reason why he has this is because years ago he made a deal with the devil that he could create this in exchange. When his daughter turned 16, she would automatically belong to the devil. Now she's getting to be 16 and he's trying to come up with a way to get out of it. And they come across a very strange man by the name of Tony who wants to come up with ways to sort of update the Imaginarium so that people can come into it. Okay, Dave, I like this movie, but maybe not quite as much as some of Terry Gilliam's other films like Time Bandits, but I think what he was trying to say with this movie was that he is not really crazy about how movies are made now. He thinks that people do not open up and use their imaginations now. A lot of films today have no story, perhaps, and it's all about the action and the look of the film. And I think this is a good criticism that he makes with this film. And, of course, there's a quote that a character says in the film where it says you don't understand it the first time. Maybe he's saying sometimes movies you have to watch it more than once to get into it. But other than that, I think this was a very good movie. Not my favorite Terry Gilliam film, but it was a pretty good movie. And what do you think?
This movie didn't work for me. I didn't quite like it.
Oh, why not?
It took too long to get going, and by the end, I was so bored I fell asleep. I didn't like it at all. I mean, I like Terry Gilliam's other movies like Time Bandits and Brothers Grimm and all that. I enjoyed those, but this just didn't work for me. I mean, there was maybe a couple parts that I liked, like the one thing where he brought that one old sequence from Monty Python to life that used to be animated, the giant police head in the desert. He brought that to life, or the police officers dancing in the pantyhose. That part made me laugh, and then maybe there was a couple other scenes with dialogue that was kind of funny, but other than that, this didn't work for me.
Oh, that's too bad. I really think it was a good movie in the sense that he's kind of critiquing films now that people are not using their imaginations as they used to, and films are starting to lack story. I mean, this film does have a story, as I mentioned, behind it, and I think he's saying storytelling is very important with this film. I mean, my criticism with some of his other films is that sometimes he overdoes it on the visuals. Like, why I didn't quite like Adventures of Baron Munchausen quite as much was because sometimes he overdoes it on the visuals, and it kind of smothers the story. But here, it really doesn't. I mean, the only time you see anything really, special effect oriented is inside the Imaginarium, and I think thankfully he did not overdo it there. I think it really worked very, very well. My criticism is I did not like Tom Waits as the devil because I don't know, maybe it's because whenever I think of the devil, he's usually the slinky type, but here Tom Waits plays him, and I just felt like he was just trying to act here, and it just didn't really gel with me.
Yeah, I didn't like him as the devil at all. The only part with him that I liked was just like the one scene where he like comes up and he's like a big snake and everything in the desert. That was kind of cool. That was a cool special effect, but otherwise, no, his acting was poor.
Was there anything else with this film that you weren't crazy about that kind of affected you then?
It just seemed to have, it seemed to me like it reminded me of a lot of other films that have done this sort of thing before. I mean, a little bit it reminded me of like Alice in Wonderland, and then it reminded me a little bit of like Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe with the mirror and all that. But that stuff's all been done before. It just seemed like the same old thing. Well,
it's true that it kind of about using something like that, but I think he's trying to say go back to, a lot of people are not reading quite as much as they used to, because when you read you can use your imagination. I think that ties in with the movie very well. I think it was a well-acted film. I think the cast did a great job, and this is common knowledge. This is Heath Ledger's last film that he was working on before his untimely death, and I think he and all the actors that played Tony were very, very good, and they were all very, very, very different. Like Heath Ledger seems to come across more as like the helpful kind, and he's trying to help out, and Johnny Depp is more, he does the character a little bit different, like he's a little bit more somewhat of a strange portrayal, and then Jude Law represents more like the fun aspect of it. And Colin Farrell, I think, came across more as a romantic, even though he became kind of smug near the end of the film. But I mean, I think each actor played the character very, very good.
Yeah, Heath Ledger did a good job. I mean, he helped to carry the movie. I mean, I wish we could have seen a little more of Johnny Depp, but like you had told me earlier when we were talking, you were saying that they were doing Public Enemies at the same time, and they had him for just a short time, so they couldn't use him more than just the scene. So,
yeah.
But it would have been nice if he could have played the main Tommy instead of
Tony
instead of Heath Ledger.
Yeah. Well, I think Heath Ledger did fine, but I would not have. I wish that he could have been able to finish this part, because I would have liked to have seen what he would have done with these Imaginarium scenes, because he's in the real world, but whenever he goes into the Imaginarium, he's played by a different actor. I would have liked to have seen what he would have done with these scenes, you know. But overall, I enjoyed this movie, and I would definitely recommend it with your popcorn. I think it's not Terry Gilliam's best film, but I think it's a very interesting story. The acting, for the most part, is very good, and I think it's worth renting. I'd recommend it.
Yeah, I really can't.
You can't?
No.
Any particular reason of it?
It just didn't work for me. I mean, the scenes when you're inside the Imaginarium, those are kind of cool, but everything else it drags for me. I mean, besides Heath Ledger's character being probably the best in this, the rest of the characters just didn't work.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well, I disagree with you. This is probably the biggest disagreement I can remember us having over a movie, really.
Yeah.
But I definitely would recommend it. It's not his best film, like I said. And interestingly, the member of the troupe that goes with Dr. Parnassus, you know who I'm talking about, the young guy in the movie.
Yeah.
He reminded me a lot of Eric Idle. Like, I think if this movie had been made 20 years ago, I think Eric Idle would have played him, because he has the same mannerisms as Eric Idle.
Yeah, you could tell he was like, you could tell he had like ADD bad, ADHD real bad, because he's all over the place, and he's just like, he's trying to steer clear of things as well as get into things, and he's just crazy.
Yeah, well, I don't think he was crazy, but I think the way he talks and the way he jokes around, it kind of reminded me of Eric Idle. But yeah. Okay, so I guess we reached a real big split on the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. I think you can rent this movie with your popcorn. Dave here says not to waste your time, your time at all. But so that's our opinion on the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. So feel free to leave any comments about the movie if you have seen it, or about this video. So thank you very much for watching.